Hello and welcome. This short video will walk you through the procedures for completing the forms and approvals necessary for traveling for the Haralson County School System. There are two forms that must be completed and approved by your immediate supervisor and the board office prior to your registering for your event. The two forms are the Professional Leave Expense Quote and the Absence Request for Leave form. From the Haralson County Schools web page, select the Departments tab. From either the drop-down menu or the Departments page, select Professional Learning. On the far right, you will find a link to travel forms. Remember, the most up-to-date versions of all travel forms are located in the far right menu box located under Travel Forms on the Professional Learning page. The first form we will look at will be the Professional Leave Expense Quote. There are several new areas that will need to be completed on this year's form. Make sure to note the various items that you will need prior to completing the form. These include access to your school's or the district's strategic plan. All of the plans can be found under the Parents tab. For example, from the Haralson County Schools web page, you can find the district plan by selecting Parents. Then in the right menu, under Helpful Downloads, the Haralson County Strategic Implementation Plan is available for viewing. To find your individual school's plan, select your school from the drop-down menu. As an example, the high school has their parent link in the left menu. Look for either the terms Strategic or Improvement Plan. You will need the information contained in this document to complete your form. Remember, you can find the most up-to-date copy of the Professional Learning Expense Quote in the left-hand menu under Travel Forms. A form to open will be sent, usually to the bottom left corner of your screen. Double-clicking should automatically open the document in Microsoft Word. Select Enable Editing to complete the form. Clicking on the gray boxes will allow you to complete the form. Let's use Dr. Robinson's form she completed to attend the upcoming GAETC conference for our example. The first few boxes are rather self-explanatory. However, we can see here that the new form will require us to tie all professional learning back to either our schools or district strategic improvement plans. Due to Dr. Robinson's location at the Board of Education, she was able to use Goal Area 3 of the district strategic plan to show relevance for her attendance at this particular event. Select individual goals and objectives from either your schools or the district's strategic improvement plan that are relevant to the outcomes of your event. Another area that is new will be the identification of how you expect to specifically use the information to meet the identified goal or objective. In her role in providing and delivering professional development, Dr. Robinson has selected redelivery to teachers. In her role as a teacher, she also will be using information she learns to improve the instruction in her classroom. She also plans on using the information gathered to assist with an analysis of current technology procedures in light of new technologies that were introduced at the conference. The rest of the form will be familiar to those of you who have previously submitted forms. Please make sure to estimate your total mileage according to the established rate. The current rate is 0.575 cents per mile. Dr. Robinson expects to travel approximately 62 miles one way each day. $215 represents the total amount of mileage she expects to submit for reimbursement. Although Dr. Robinson will be traveling over 50 miles each way, she does not intend to spend the night. Therefore, she will not be eligible for lodging or for meal reimbursement on this trip. The registration fee for the conference is $180 and there will be no parking fees for the event. Her total expected expenditure will be approximately $395. Be sure to check the form stating that you have completed the FY16 training for travel. Once you have everything completed, it is time to save and print your document. Once printed, please sign and date the document. Then there is one more step that needs to take place to complete this form. You will need to go to the web page of the event that you would like to attend, and download a copy of the registration form, any printable programs, etc. If applicable. Be sure to complete all the relevant parts of the form, and submit it with your expense quote and absence/request for leave to your immediate supervisor. If approved, the district office will complete the registration process for you, including sending any needed registration fees. As mentioned before, you will need to submit both the completed professional learning expense quote and the absence/request for leave form together for approval. Remember, the most up-to-date versions of all travel forms are located in the far right menu box located under Travel Forms on the Professional Learning page. Select the correct form. The form should download automatically. Be sure to enable editing. This form cannot be completed online while keeping the formatting. It is recommended that you print a copy of the form and complete it by hand. Be sure to select Professional Learning. Make sure that you sign and date the form before submitting to your immediate supervisor. Once all the signatures have been generated, you will receive an email from Deanna Shireling at the BOE. The email will include scanned copies of your approved forms. Save this email. Download and print the scanned documents. You will need to submit them along with your final reimbursement forms after your event. You will only need to complete one more form for reimbursement after your event concludes, the Auto Mileage Record form. The Auto Mileage Record form can be found in the same place as the other forms that you needed prior to your event, and like the Professional Learning Expense Quote, can be completed online. This form should be completed within 30 days of your first entry on the form, and you will need your specific odometer readings from your trip. Select the correct form. Double-click the form to open. Enable editing. Select the gray boxes to enter in your personal information. Be sure to enter in the date that you are submitting for travel, and understand that each row should reflect a one-way trip. You will select your starting point. This will either be your home or your school. If starting from your school, please be specific. For example, use BES or HCHS, as opposed to the generic term school. Next, you will enter in your destination. This is your first, one-way destination. You may not enter in round-trip mileage on this form. Again, this needs to be specific. If you are attending a meeting in Rome, Georgia, please state the specific building or organization, or complete address and Rome, Georgia, as opposed to just Rome, Georgia. In the previous example, Dr. Robinson was planning on attending the GATC conference. She would put home in the first from box, and Georgia International Convention Center, Atlanta, Georgia in the to box. The boxes will expand to fit the information you enter. Enter in your beginning and ending odometer readings. Under purpose, please be specific. Do not put a generic term like professional development or conference. Be specific to the title of the event or professional learning event that you are attending. Dr. Robinson would write GATC conference. Finally, in the last column, enter in the total one-way mileage. Repeat the information on the next row for your next leg of your trip, or for your return home. The date, if the same, can be left blank for the return trip. Your from is now your new starting point, and your to is your new destination. Beginning and ending odometer readings, the purpose should be the same. You may choose to leave this row blank for the purpose of reporting a round trip on the same day. And finally, your total miles traveled. For those making multiple trips in 1 month, you may record all of your mileage on one form. You do not need to create a new form for each individual trip. Total the number of miles that you are reporting on your form. Multiply the total number of miles by the established rate and enter the total here. You do not need to enter in an account code. This will be completed by the district office. Make sure to save your form before printing. Print, sign and date your form. Your next step will be attaching your previously approved forms before submitting to your immediate supervisor for signature. The first form you will need to attach will be a copy of the approved absence request for leave form. You will also need to attach a copy of your approved professional leave expense quote. Finally, submit all forms to your immediate supervisor for final approval. Your immediate supervisor will then return the form to you for correction, or will forward them onto the Board of Education for processing and payment.